Hey guys, welcome back. Let's dive into jumping parallel timelines. Exciting. So, we do this all the time, quite literally, because as you know, there is no time. Linear time is an illusion. It is simply a matter of consciousness jumping from one parallel configuration of energy to another parallel configuration of the universe, etc. And the word parallel implies that they already coexist right next to each other. In other words, there is no actual time. We simply move from one already existent universe to another already existent universe to another already existent universe, and we do this billions of times each second. Therefore, we generate the illusion of movement and of space and of time and motion, etc. and change. Nothing actually changes, structurally speaking. Everything already exists. As we've learned in lesson, everything happens at once. Everything exists at once. However, or not however, but in addition to seeing that life consists of parallel realities, we can also see each parallel reality as having, let me put it this way, every timeline consists of a sequence of parallel realities that all make sense within that timeline. So, in other words, there is endless timelines, and each timeline consists of billions of parallel realities per second, but there's other timelines that have another story of other billions of parallel realities happening each second, or being moved through by that consciousness every second. In other words, there's infinite parallel realities, and within infinite parallel realities, you can connect those already existent parallel pictures or realities in any type of order that you so desire. And one timeline may never experience certain pictures, and another timeline may experience pictures that the other timeline never experiences. So in other words, timelines consist of parallel realities, parallel reality frames. So to say that a parallel reality is an alternate timeline, we could say that, but to be more precise, a timeline consists of many, many, many parallel realities that are experienced from a certain point of view, in a certain way, in a certain order, and there is many, 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 many timelines that each have a different type of sequence of parallel realities that make sense to that particular timeline. So that can be so far apart that one timeline will never be able to even recognize the form and the type of experience that another type of consciousness out there in the universe potentially may experience. It might be so different, such a different perspective, such a different way of using the senses of consciousness, and such a different type of vibratory state of these parallel realities sequences that we would simply not recognize each other. In fact, in a sense, we could say this happens all the time. Because right now you're in a particular frequency and you're not recognizing all the other alternate timeline realities that are also available. So you can start utilizing this consciously, and you can actually learn to jump timelines. And this is very interesting. I've done this many times. We all do this in a sense, mechanically speaking, all the time, but we can do it in a more significant way to where it's actually becoming noticeable. So again, I've done it in a noticeable way many times over my life, over the course of my life, so that right now when I look back upon 2 weeks ago, I don't recognize my life, I don't recognize myself. When I look back 2 years ago, I absolutely don't recognize myself. It absolutely feels like it's someone else. So you can develop the same habit, the same tool, the same privilege, this same birthright, the same ability. Because you already use the ability, but now you can start using it consciously, deliberately, and have fun with it. So there's many ways to do this, and again, mechanically, structurally, energetically speaking, every second you've jumped timelines. However, not to a significant enough degree where we can say, okay, this is a completely different timeline. But again, you can make that more significant, you can make that difference more drastic, more dramatic. And in accordance, most importantly, make that change be in accordance with your highest bliss, your highest joy, your highest desire. Otherwise, what is the point, right? You might as well be in this one. So there is many ways to increase this significance, the significance of that change. And Basically, if you look upon your life as it already is and as it already has unfolded, you will see that there's been many moments in your life where you had a very powerful urge, or surge rather. It's an urge, but it's like a surge of I want change. It's a very strong, palpable desire. I want to change something. If you remember the 3-day process lesson, this would be the day 1 experience. There is a very profound change in energetic orientation, vibrational orientation of you as an individual, as an individuation of all that is. So you have a change of heart, you have a change of intention, a change of mindset, a change of belief system. Now when this change is executed and is seen through all the way, is taken all the way through the day 2 challenge into the day 3 of the celebration, confirmation, and transformation, what quite literally has happened is that you have jumped in your vibration significantly enough to where we can say, if you could actually see it on a piece of paper, drawing a line between the different dots, which each represent a parallel reality, it would look like this was your previous life, just a straight line, and then suddenly, whoop, it jumped up a notch, and now it continued in a similar line, or maybe a slightly different direction, but on a wholly different level. So quite literally then we can say that you have shifted timelines, you've changed your timeline. This also means, weirdly enough actually, that you have not only changed your future experience, what you will be experiencing, but the body-mind vibrational spectrum or reality that you are now inhabiting, that you are now conscious of, actually also has a different past. One that you might not remember, although you can even, also this is weird, but you can even gain memory of experiences that you never had in your previous timeline. Those are experiences that your present self has had, because again, time is an illusion. And so what you're quote-unquote tuning into or downloading is not so much an actual memory. You never actually have a memory in that sense, but it's simply you notice a parallel picture that represents, or that corresponds to the vibratory state that you now shifted into. So now you have access to future and past simultaneously of this new future self, of this new parallel self that you've chose, this new parallel timeline self. And so being in that energy, you will naturally be in a different type of memory and in a different type of probability projection into your future. So one way to specifically do this is to actually change your past. So this is one simple method that we could learn to apply. So what you do is you take an event that you remember from your past, perhaps one that you don't really enjoy, one that you don't prefer, one that you, in a sense, wish wasn't yours, even though you can see right now it has benefited you, it has helped you become who you are. But take that memory that you have a bit of a nasty aftertaste from and change it, quite literally, simply by exerting, that's not the right word, by overwhelming that memory with your new chosen frequency, vibration, energy. So let's say that that new vibratory state that you prefer over your memory is love and joy and support and respect. That is what you experienced. So simply take those frequencies, or one of them, and overwhelm your past with that particular moment in your past with that particular frequency that you chose, and see what happens. It's like you keep massaging, energetically massaging your image of your past with a different vibratory state. You overwhelm it, you insert it, you superimpose your new vibratory state onto your image, your memory from the past that you don't really enjoy. And as you keep exuding that energy of love and light and vibration, of aliveness, vibration, and respect and support and being loved and all that, the more you keep superimposing that onto the image, you will start to see the image starts to change. Now this is not a delusion as such. This is actually you shifting into a parallel timeline where you had a slightly different or a significantly different experience of a very similar moment. But you're now in a parallel reality, which is of a, shall we say, higher vibratory state, a more evolved, more expanded version timeline of your experience, an alternate self, basically. You're inhabiting an alternate version of yourself. And this has a different past. So now that you keep changing that past experience, you're actually in the present moving yourself into a different timeline. You're shifting into a different timeline more drastically than you normally would, shifting through parallel realities on automatic pilot. Right now you're making this conscious and deliberate, and you're changing it so significantly that you're actually starting to change your memory of the past. So try this out, see what happens. Suddenly it is a completely different picture, and the same person perhaps that abused you suddenly starts hugging you sincerely and with no other meaning than to simply hug you and love you and support you unconditionally. This is just one example. Or the boss that fired you now suddenly gave you a big commission or a reward, or gave you an upgrade. So you will see that your image of what happened changes. And even if it does not make sense to your present memory of your timeline, simply allow that to be okay. But keep superimposing your chosen vibratory state onto that past image, watch it change, and allow that to be a permission symbol for you feeling that you have actually changed in the present to a different parallel timeline that is of a more aligned nature, that is of a freer, more transparent nature. More transparent to what? More transparent to your heart's absolute desires, who you truly are, wanting to manifest itself through your body-mind individuation experience.